Morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Lots and lots to discuss on today's show, but before we get into that, please do me a small favour. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if this is your first time watching, bottom right hand corner, and give the video a like. Let's try and see 500 likes on this episode. Right, let's jump straight on into it. We've got so much to get through on today's show. But before we do, I have one question to ask you. So get involved in the comment section. Who should Manchester United sign as the new left back or left wing back, whatever you want to call it? Let me know the name in the comment section below. We will be talking about the left back, left wing back on today's show. So yeah, get your name in right now. But let's start off with the left wing back, shall we? And let's talk about Patrick Dorgu. Now, this guy is a relatively newish player to the scene. He's only 19 years of age. This story came out from Fabrizio Romano last night, and he is reporting that Manchester United are looking at left wing backs, which obviously we all know. And he says that they've now added Denmark international Patrick Dorgu to their list of targets. Okay. He also goes on to say that Milos Kerkez and Nuno Mendes are higher on the list, but considered more expensive. He says that Patrick Dorgu has been monitored by Manchester United scouts in recent months, and he says that Napoli are also interested in the player. I like this guy. I'm not going to, sit here and pretend that I've watched every single game that he's played recently, but I have seen a few of the games that he's played in. I've watched lots of clips on him. I've watched him play for Denmark as well. He's just turned 20 a couple of months ago, or like a month ago, right? He is obviously, as I said, Danish. Predominantly can play as a left wing back, but also can play as a left winger, a right back, a right wing back, and a right winger. So he's very versatile. He can operate in about 5 or 6 different positions. I think he'd be an interesting player. I really, really do. Will we get him? I don't know. Maybe he's not quite ready for the move yet. He's the same age as Alvaro Fernandez. Is he any better than Alvaro Fernandez? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I would probably say that Alvaro Fernandez maybe even has a little bit more experience than him, obviously from playing in the Champions League this season for Benfica. So I think it's an interesting option, but if I had to pick between Alvaro Fernandez and Patrick Dorgu, I'd probably go for Alvaro Fernandez, when realistically we probably more need someone like Nuno Mendes or Alphonso Davies or Theo Hernandez, or we need someone maybe with a little bit more experience. I think Alvaro Fernandez and Patrick Dorgu, as good as they are as upcoming prospects, I'm not convinced that they're ready to start for Manchester United. I mean, I might be wrong. Maybe they are. Maybe they come in and they tear the world apart. But I don't know. I just think it's a bit of a risk, and I think we need somebody who is ready to hold down that left wing back position. And I'm not convinced that this Patrick Dorgu guy is just yet. I think if he was going to be like a backup, I think it'd be a great signing. If someone said to me, we can go and get Nuno Mendes and then we can also sign Patrick Dorgu as well, I'd say, great, go and do it. That's your first and second choice sorted. Get rid of Luke Shaw, get rid of Malacia. Amazing. That would be absolutely phenomenal. But the likelihood of that happening is probably pretty slim. The likelihood of us being able to get rid of Luke Shaw, probably very slim, realistically. Who is going to buy Luke Shaw? He's been injured pretty much constantly for the last 2 years. He's on massive wages. He comes back from injury after 6 months of being out, and then he's injured again. What's even wrong with Luke Shaw? Does anybody know? I honestly have no idea. Let's have a look. What is wrong with Luke Shaw? When was the last time he played? It's so strange. Yeah, so you ready for this, right? So Luke Shaw got injured on the 3rd of December. So it says that it's since been revealed that Luke Shaw suffered a hamstring injury after a hyperextension in his leg, where his tendon had been affected. I mean, I don't even know how long that is. It says Luke Shaw has made just 3 substitute appearances for United this season, and then he sustained a hamstring injury and calf injury. It's just like, I don't know. I have no idea. I honestly just think that Luke Shaw is one of those players that will never play proper football again now, to be honest. If you look at so far this season, since August, he's missed 26 games for injury already. How many games has he played in this season? Yeah, so you look in 24-25 and 23-24 seasons, He missed 45 games in 24-25 and 50 games in 23-24. I mean, there's no hope, is there? There's absolutely no hope. I mean, he has now only got 2 years left on his contract, which is the only positive in this. I mean, 2 years is still a very, very long time, but, 2 years from now, Luke Shaw won't be our problem anymore. I imagine he'll probably retire then, because I can't see anybody wanting to give him a contract. So far this season, Luke Shaw has played 98 minutes for Manchester United. 9-8. So he's just about played the equivalent of one game of football this season. And we've played 20 games in the Premier League, probably 5 games in the Europa League. 4 games in the League Cup? Like, we've probably played over 30 games this season, and Luke Shaw's played 90 minutes worth of football. I mean, it's embarrassing, isn't it? Absolutely embarrassing. But again, this isn't Luke Shaw's fault. The people whose fault this is the Glazers who gave him a new contract. It's Ed Woodward, John Murtaugh, Richard Arnold, who were stupid enough to give him a new contract in 2023. They're the ones who are to blame here. So I'm not going to blame Luke Shaw. If I was Luke Shaw and I'd just been injured for a whole season, and then at the end of that season, my employer said, I'm going to give you a new contract, I would take it. Of course you would. You'd be stupid not to. But anyway, let's not focus on Luke Shaw too much. I think, as I said a couple of minutes ago, we really do need to be looking for somebody who can nail down that first team position as the left wing back. And I think obviously Nuno Mendes is the obvious choice if we were able to do that deal. And the one thing as well that I've seen some other people saying is that Nuno Mendes is injury prone as well. He missed 44 games through injury a couple of years ago. And now people are saying that he's injury prone. So they've got to be very, very careful about who their next move is in relation to this left wing back position. This is one of the most important positions in a Ruben Amorim style team. And if we get this wrong, if we buy somebody who's injury prone, then it could just all fall apart. So we've got to be very, very careful here. But keeping on the topic of Nuno Mendes, we have had some more stories coming out about Nuno Mendes today. Obviously, Fabrizio said that Manchester United are targeting him. We've had Florian Plettenberg from Sky Sports saying that there is now contact between Manchester United and Nuno Mendes' agent. He says that Manchester United remain strongly interested in a transfer for the 22-year-old left-back this summer. And then you've got somebody else here. We've got Jason Burt, from the Telegraph in the UK, saying that Manchester United are now pushing for a deal to bring in Nuno Mendes. Ruben Amorim wants to make Mendes his first signing at United. The deal will be difficult to finalise this month, with PSG hoping he will stay. So PSG don't want to sell Nuno Mendes. That's the simple answer here. They want to keep him, but apparently Nuno Mendes wants to leave the club, wants to go and try something different, and effectively wants to work with Ruben Amorim again. Because remember, Ruben Amorim was the manager who brought Nuno Mendes through the Sporting Lisbon Youth Academy and gave him his first opportunities at Lisbon. So, Nuno Mendes played his best football and made his name under Ruben Amorim. So you can imagine how much respect and how much admiration they have for each other. So yeah, that would be an exciting deal to do. Let's have a look what's going on in the chat this morning. Welcome to Tristan, welcome to Tristan in the Members Club. Thank you very much, my friend. Everyone who's just joined the video, if you could do me a small favour and hit the like button, that would be really, really appreciated. Let's try and get to 500 likes, please. Go and like the video if you haven't already. Let's see if we can get to 500 by the time I end this video. So go and do that now. And if you are watching for the first time today as well, don't forget to subscribe. I've just dropped a link into the chat to do that as well. So yeah, if you are just joining, make sure to drop a like and make sure to subscribe. Okay, let's move on from this though, and let's jump on over to Casemiro, because I was just about to go to bed last night and this story broke, and I was thinking, amazing. This is exactly the kind of news I was hoping to hear. So this is coming up from multiple different people last night, saying that apparently Al Nassr are set to submit a €30 million bid for Casemiro. So they've just sold Fofana. I think it was to Lens in the French league. And remember, the thing is, right, with the Saudi league, each team can only have a certain amount of foreign players. So they've just sold Fofana for €20 million, Al Nassr. And now that will allow them to bring in another foreign player, and apparently Casemiro is the player that they want to go for. So this deal looks like it probably will happen now, which is really, really positive. So yeah, it was Al Nassr sold Seko Fofana to Stade Rennais for 20 million euros. That deal literally just went through on the 1st of January. So that deal's done. Now we just have to wait for the official bid for Casemiro. But lots and lots of reports coming out this morning are suggesting that Casemiro to Al Nassr looks like a deal that will happen. Apparently, Al Nassr have offered him £650,000 a week, which is nearly double his current £350,000 a week contract at Manchester United. So wages won't be a problem. This story's coming out from Paul Hurst in the Times this morning, who's very reliable around Manchester United, and also Charlotte Ducker. I think this one will probably happen. The headline is that Saudi clubs on alert after Casemiro tells Manchester United he's ready to leave. This story was published this morning. It says Brazilian midfielder's exit could provide club with funds to buy wing-back, with interest in PSG's Nuno Mendes, plus Diogo Dalot stung into action, blah, 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 blah. And then it says the Saudi Pro League has been alerted to the availability of Casemiro, who's willing to leave Manchester United this month. So, yeah, I think this one's probably going to happen, to be honest, because obviously, as we said, the Saudi clubs can only have a certain amount of foreign players. And obviously, Al Nassr is where Ronaldo is. Ronaldo wanted to bring Casemiro to Al Nassr. So this one probably will happen. Obviously, there's still, 3 weeks left of the transfer window? We've still got quite a long time left to go. So there's plenty of time to get this deal done. I think Casemiro would even accept at this point that going to Saudi is probably the best option for him. I understand why he came to Manchester United in the first place. He didn't feel like he was ready to go to Saudi or the MLS, but now surely he knows. Surely he can look at himself and think, I'm not at the level I was before. Man United are sat 14th in the Premier League. Like, what really is the benefit of staying at Manchester United? You're closer to the relegation zone than you are to the top four. You're not going to be in the Champions League. You're probably not going to win anything this season. And the Saudis are willing to double your wages. Completely tax-free as well, remember. In Saudi, there isn't tax on these contracts. So he'll earn £650,000 a week tax-free. Whereas in England, he's probably paying about 50% of that in tax. So if you look at that purely from a financial perspective, right, Casemiro would earn about £34 million a year tax-free. If he went there on, say, a 3-year contract, that's over £100 million in wages over 3 years, cash-free, which is absolutely crazy. Whereas if you compare that with his salary in England, which obviously is still a massive salary, you have a look at his wages versus the length of his contract. So Casemiro is on 350 grand a week in England. He has got, at the moment, only about 15 months left of his deal, right? So not actually that long if you break it down. So if you do divide by 12 times by 15. So his salary in England is worth about £22 million, his contract. He's got about £22 million left on his contract before tax. But obviously, as I said, in England, he'll be probably taxed half of that. So for the next 16 months, he'll earn about £11 million with tax reduced off, no tax. 11 million after tax is what I meant to say. Whereas in Saudi, in that same period of time, he'd probably earn around £40 million after tax. So it's like 4 times the amount of money. If I was him, I would go 100%. It's warmer. It's probably relatively good for his brand as well, But we'll wait and see. I personally think that this one will happen. I would be honestly stunned if Casemiro is still here come February the 1st. Then you've got Ben Jacobs coming out this morning saying that Saudi deal makers believe that Casemiro is available for around £25 million or 30 million euros. And then in relation to how that deal would actually work, because some people will say, well, does that not mean that we've lost money? So how transfers usually work is there is an amortization, which means that you take the figure that the team paid. So Manchester United paid 70 million euros for Casemiro, right? And it was spread across, I believe, the amortization is spread across the length of the contract. So he's been here for 2.5 years now, okay? It was a 4-year contract. So the amortization was about £17.5 million per season. So if we get 30 million for him, we will actually make, and people will probably struggle to understand this to begin with, we'll actually be making a profit of about, it's not much, of about 4 million euros. And how that works is we've already paid off about 45 million euros of the transfer fee in amortization, and there's about 25 million euros left in amortization. So we would say we've just received 30 for this player and we have 25 million left to pay. So we'd make about 5 million euros. So it's not a massive amount of money, but obviously when you consider the wages as well, and you consider that Nuno Mendes, who's our number one target, currently only earns about 30,000 a week at PSG. So you can see where the money's going to come from, right? If we manage to get rid of Rashford and Casemiro, that's 350 grand a week on Casemiro saved and 300 grand a week on Rashford saved. So if you look at that just over the rest of the season, say, so if you do 650 a week, that's their combined wages, divided by the amount of months left in the season, which is about 6, you would get, let's have a look. What would we get? I mean, the amount of money would be absolutely vast. It's about £15.5 million worth of wages. If we get rid of Casemiro and Rashford now, we will save over £15 million in wages between now and the summer, which is mental, isn't it? And then if you add that to, say, the money you get from Casemiro and a bit of money from Rashford, like, that's where the money comes for transfers. So it's a bit annoying that we're having to do this, but it's just how it is, isn't it? Right, let's have a look what people are saying in the chat this morning, shall we? Somebody says, does the Saudi League want any of our other players? No, I don't think so. I think it's just Casemiro. As far as I can see, it's just Casemiro. Okay, let's move on from that, though. Let's jump on over to Marcus Rashford then, shall we? So the headline coming up this morning is that apparently AC Milan have submitted an offer for Rashford, but it's a loan offer. It's a really difficult one, this, because if there's no other option, do we loan out Rashford? Or do we stamp our feet in the ground and say no? I think we should be selling him permanently. I think a loan is a massive risk. Maybe he goes to AC Milan and he performs and they want to buy him. But he could also go to AC Milan and it could go backwards and he might not perform and then nobody wants him, you know? So it's a big, big risk. And I think, for me personally, I think if we're able to get even 20, 30 million now for Marcus Rashford, I would do that. Because the most important thing is getting the wages off the wage bill. Because the issue we have is, right, even if we loan him to AC Milan and he does well, and they say we want to buy him, then his wages are still going to be a problem for AC Milan. You know, like, it's not like suddenly they're going to say, oh, we'll give him 350 grand a week. They're not going to do that. That's the issue that we have. Because I get the point of loaning players out to get experience, to maybe build up their value and all the rest of it. But at the end of that loan period, do we actually think there's a chance that AC Milan will buy him? And if they do want to buy him, where are they going to get the money from? You know, they might be able to scrape the transfer fee together, but you look at AC Milan's wage budget, their highest paid player is Alvaro Morata, who's on 160,000 euros a week, which is what, 120,000 pounds? So their highest earning player at the whole club earns a third of what Marcus Rashford earns. So I just don't see how their wage budget is going to allow to buy Rashford. So effectively what would happen is we'd loan Rashford to AC Milan. We'd probably have to pay half of his wages. Then either in the summer they turn around and say, we don't want him, he's not good enough. Or they say we want him, but we can't pay his wages. You know? And then what do we do? We're stuck with him. So I think it's a pretty difficult situation, but at the same time, there doesn't seem to be a massive queue of clubs lining up for him, realistically. You know? Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? There's obviously talk that Napoli are interested in him and that maybe a swap deal for Osimhen, but apparently Galatasaray don't want to let Osimhen go. It's a difficult one, it really is, and I don't know. I just hope that we can get something done with Marcus Rashford before now and February the 1st, and it probably will end up being a loan. It's not what we want, but if it's that or nothing, what would you do? You know, if it was a loan or he stays, what would you prefer? I mean, loaning him out and then not being able to afford a replacement, to me, sounds a little bit backwards. You know, because just because he's not training properly now, does that mean that he's never going to train properly again? I don't know. Is that what Manchester United are saying? And I'm not saying I want to keep Rashford by any means. I'm just saying if we loan him out and we can't then bring in a replacement, What happens if Ahmad gets injured and Bruno gets injured? What happens then? You know? What do we do? Mason Mount's injured and probably going to be injured forever at this rate. Eriksen's past it. He can barely even play at this level. Like, who do we play instead? And I know Bruno never gets injured, but what if he does? What if Bruno and Ahmad get injured in the next couple of months? Who plays in those positions? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing we have to consider. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about all of that. It is a difficult one. It is. Right. I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Feels like a good point to end today's show. Lots and lots discussed. Thank you very much for everyone who joined me. I will be back live throughout the day. Obviously, if anything breaks, I will go live. Make sure to drop a like before you leave. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a lovely day, everybody, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye for now. Beep.